Now, what I'm going to try and do is take the link off here and hope that I can actually use it to get into YouTube. There we go. That should work. And now if I get rid of that, my goodness, I won't even be able to drive this by the year 2025. We shall see. G'day, everyone. Welcome aboard. It is that time of day where we say hi and we prepare ourselves for London Open, which is just a matter of minutes away. And I'm going to experience a lot of feedback. There we go, all working. Yeah, minutes away from the Open, of course. And kind of our last day prior to next week. Which is nothing unusual because we do that on a Friday. But next week, we're starting the US session as well. So we'll get into that a little bit later and share that with you. Ash, you got anything urgent, mate?
No, not hugely. I think we're going to get a little boost to the upside this morning. So just watching to see what goes on there. But may even see a monthly pivot. But yeah, I think we're going to get some upside early doors. I've taken measures to make sure I can take advantage of that if it happens. But aside from that, not really. I mean, we got a general market discussion I think that we can have. We have been talking about oil, so I think we should look at oil at some point in the not too distant future. But I don't know if you want to look at that now or whether you want to discuss the pound trade early doors.
Oh, we might as well set the pound trade up, eh? Geez,
yeah,
a few
let's do
things
that.
Fitting up for me today. This could be dangerous. I could be going nuts here.
Morning, John.
The pound. Oh,
good morning, Kumar.
Hang on a second. Morning, guys. Morning. Well, afternoon, evening in my case, but wherever you guys are, happy days. What have we got? Pound US dollar 1 hour chart with what, a minute and some seconds to go. We just scraped into four. We made 4 pips yesterday. Woo-hoo.
We haven't got your chart, mate. If you're showing it,
you haven't.
No, not as yet.
That's a bit of a pisser.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a bit of a shame, really.
There you go.
You got it now?
Got it now.
Okay, happy days. Wow, this looks a bit toppy, doesn't it? You would have to say. But certainly in a range over the last 3 days. And this week has been pretty much a range for the pound US dollar. And that's why we haven't made any money, guys. We haven't made any, well, we haven't made a cracker, actually. We've dropped a little bit and gained only a fraction. So let's try and get it back today, shall we? Not that we're chasing it, but we're still placing exactly the same trade, which is the range of the last 3 bars of pre-London session, which will be today. This bar, this bar, this bar. So we've got a true range here of the last 3 bars. And the low will be here. We can actually set that now. I believe nothing's going to change, I wouldn't think, in the next little bit. Or is it reduced just to 0.15? I don't know. Buck up. It will be a sell stop. And the level we'll be looking for is 10 pips below the bottom of the range. The range is this bar here. 1.2367 should do us nicely. I get the feeling the market's going to be moving today, mate. I really do.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the FTSE is on the move right now. I'm looking to see whether it can grab its upper line. But yeah, looking fairly bullish. I'll let you know the read on the stocks that are in positive or negative territory in a second.
Okay. All right. The entry for the short is 1.2367. The stop loss for the short is 1.2448. And we will place that. I've got to remember those, 24.48, 23.67. So we'll place the long. And that will be a buy stop. At 24.48, if my memory is correct. And the stop loss will be the same as the entry for the short. which was 1.23, forgot, 1.2367. Okay. All right, that's the buy stop order, and there are our parameters for the day. We've got a short at 1.2367 with a stop loss at 1.2448, and the reverse of that, we've got a long at 1.2448 with a stop at 1.2367. And of course, if one of them is triggered, we will cancel the other, and then we will trail once triggered on a 15-minute 2-bar trail. Okay, we are open, Ash. What do you got?
We are open, yeah. We got currently, which changes very, very quickly in the early part of the day, around about 56 to 60% of stocks in positive territory. So looking like a little surge to the upside early doors. Just having a look at some of those names that are doing quite well today. HSBC still tanking to the downside. Interesting. Some of the banks yesterday were reporting that they weren't going to be able to pay dividend to their clients this year until the end of 2020. And we've seen a lot of pressure on some of those banking stocks. But interestingly, a bit of a spread between the ones that are positive and negative. We did discuss HSBC at a level of support yesterday, but looks like it's just tipping a little bit, continuing to tip a little bit below that particular level.
Just on those lines of dividends, I've heard, I think it was the ASX that, and I don't know who the people were that were suggesting this be the case, but somebody was pleading with, maybe it was the banks, can't remember, pleading with all dividend-paying stockholders or stocks that they should not be paying dividends at this time.
That's right. That's right. Now, you might be talking about the banks specifically. I can't remember the name of the.
I can't remember. It just went in my brain and straight out of it because I don't deal with that sort of stuff. But
yeah, I mean, I've only read about the banks. Now, you might be right, right across the board. I mean, it does make sense. You know what? I don't know why you'd have share buybacks or dividend payments at this particular time if you're going to be doing some protecting. But yeah,
I just got one the other day. Actually, I just got notification of it, so maybe just in time.
Yes, yeah. Well, that would certainly put investors off. You'd think until the end of 2020. But I suppose that's some of the issue. You know, if they're not going to pay dividends until the end of the year, why would anybody invest in that particular stock until the end of the year? You know, so that may well bring problems of its own. I'm not sure. But in saying that, the banking stocks are around about 50-50, the ones in positive, negative territory. Industrial metals are also a bid right now, so they're positive-ish. Seeing the multi-utilities and water actually not doing so well, and they tend to be associated with protection. So, just trying to get a picture of what's out there right now. Life insurance media. It looks. Life insurance and media aren't doing so well. Personal drug care doing a bit better so far.
I don't see your charts. Why is that?
Well, you don't. We're not looking at the charts. I was just running down the list, but I can show you the FTSE 100 if you're.
That'd be why.
If you're free to do that. Look. Yeah, we're just looking at the FTSE 100. I am looking for it to get up to this point. Again, maybe test that upper level because of the way we seem to have started. Oil is also bid today so far, and actually maybe with good reason. It seems like the Chinese are quite happy to go and start buying up some of the reserves in oil. Obviously,
no, Donald's going to sort them out. That's why the oil's moving. Mate.
Oh yeah, well that's another reason, isn't it? Donald says he's going to get Russia and Saudi Arabia together and bash them. Crack some skulls, so that might well help. So we'll see if that does.
I think they treat him like no, I shouldn't say that. Poor old Donald. He's my favourite man. I don't think they'll pay the least bit of attention to him, will they?
Well, probably not. I mean, it's obviously in his interest for it not to be where it is, which is why he's getting involved. But looking at this on a technical level, you can see that there's a trend line with oil that dates back from the 11th of March on a 4-hour chart. And if you extrapolate the highs, then it does lead us to exactly where we are now. So it needs to get through this level and take out the weekly pivot for us to be really bullish on oil. I mean, you know, speculating down here would be on a hugely reduced level. And that looks like a channel as well. So, you know, there's still a possibility that oil could come down here from which is around about $10 a barrel as well, which is on a technical level. There is that channel that we might see the lower end of. Again, however unlikely it may seem.
Interesting level, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and things can just turn on their head again, you know, as bullish as things appear. But we are still in a bear market after all. And these days where
I don't want to be a buyer there.
No, I don't either. And I think that's the thing. I think if we get through this particular zone, then things probably do change significantly, because we would at least be taking out the channel and the weekly pivot. So that's what I'd want to see, technically speaking. And the question is, because, you know, everybody's looking for a driver. When they're looking for markets to turn, they're looking for a driver. It's difficult sometimes to know what that driver is. My issue with oil is that there is now so much surplus that's out there. Even if it did start to move higher, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see us back down near these levels at some point. So my particular my personal preference would be to wait for a move back up, just so it gives a better selling price. And I'm the same with the market. I'm the same with the FTSE 100. You know, the FTSE 100, I'm not bullish on at all. You know, all the moves back up again because Italy might be having slightly less cases, or, you know, whatever else they can report. I don't think that, you know, even the China PMIs the other day were really good. That's where it started from. So after that, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's worth you know, starting to speculate on this. But we did see the numbers out of America come out pretty weak, and ultimately Chinese PMIs are really about production. They're not about exports. So if the market is not buying the things that they're producing, then it's almost becomes a moot point. And again, you just end up with a load of surplus, you know, production surplus, kind of just sitting there. So I don't think all the parts of the jigsaw are ready yet for us to be looking for longs. I still think that we're in the mire down here, and I think we should still probably be looking for shorts and looking at the FTSE.
Mate, I can see an oil trader in the room. I don't know if we can allow him to talk. What a shame. The Big O. The Big O's in.
The Big O? Orlando.
The Big O's in the room. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Okay, how you doing, buddy? Yeah. Well, yeah. No, we haven't got a way for you to speak, Orlando. But if you have any idea on oil that is easy to type, then let us know, because we do really
in English, please, mate. That'd be good.
In English, yeah, but we do appreciate any experts out there that can give us some of the background detail on why oil would move. That would be fantastic. Amazing. So we might get a bit of an update from Orlando, but that would be certainly the technical idea anyway with oil would be it's got to break that weekly pivot, especially now. You know, at this particular stage, you're right beneath it. So there's no point in taking a trade with oil until we actually get above it from this particular point anyway. But yeah, when it comes down to the FTSE, I'm still looking for the short. And if it touches this level up here, then I'm going to be adding to a position. If it gets through that level, then I'll look for a short around about the 6,000 mark, which is 500 pips above where we are now. But it certainly looks like we might get a bit of upside today, mate. I know you're going to go around the grounds, but let's just check out the Aussie, because we were both quite keen on this the other day when we saw some of the detail, you know, from China.
In fact, I'm going to place an order on it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's do that.
And I don't do this. I don't trade the first bar of London session, as you know, but this one I may miss if I don't take it. So
okay, let's do that. Let me pass it back to you, mate.
Roger D. Okay. Now this is a bit of a pet play of mine, which is why I'm going to trade it. But it's not it's not it's not a clear-cut strategy. Let me see why I've got that channel there. Okay, I've got it now. I just need a bit of context. That's all good. All right. What we're doing is we're going to trade long here on Aussie US dollar. And we're going to trade long at, just let me check my levels first. Yeah, that's cool. Entry is going to be at 61.13, guys. So it'll be a buy stop. At 61.13. Now, you want to go fairly light on this. Why? Because I don't trust the dollar at the moment. That's why. I trust the Aussie, but I don't trust the dollar. The dollar can do anything right now, as far as I'm concerned. Stop loss. Look, we might sneak it underneath the current bar, I think, at 60.90. Okay. 6090. And we will take we'll take a quick profit. If we get triggered, I'll just come and micromanage that with you guys. But we will be taking profit fairly quickly if we get triggered. Pound. Have we been triggered on the pound? No. In the middle of nowhere at this point. Sorry, mate, I interrupted. I'll call you back if...
No, it's okay. It's okay. Do you know what? I'm just looking around, just looking under the hood, really, of the FTSE 100 and and seeing what I've got, and it really is. You know, I was kind of looking at these charts and thinking, you know what, I'm a little bit, I feel a little bit out of sorts about where this might go today, and I couldn't really put my finger on why. And I think maybe Orlando's touched on a potential reason we don't really go too far today, because we do have some important data which we'll have a look at in a moment. But I'm also looking at some of the stocks that are performing in the FTSE today. And as I was scrolling down and seeing some fairly impressive numbers, I got to the 50 mark and I saw a bit of a drop off. So that's the reason that the market is a bit tricky to read right now. This 50, around about 50-50 when it comes down to stocks in positive and negative territory. And some of those numbers. Do you know what? There was a really interesting report from who was it? British American Tobacco. And I remember the last financial crisis, and I was surprised at the stocks that did well, and I was surprised at the stocks that didn't do so well. And one of the stocks that did really well was the tobacco companies. And
wow.
And I couldn't work out what it was. I thought that'd be something that people would just not pay for, because I thought, you know, cigarettes were becoming more and more expensive. But it seems that people were just sat indoors and just wanted some of their pleasures. You know, some
relief,
of their
man.
Stress relief. Yeah, they were buying Sky, and they were paying for Sky, and they were paying for cigarettes, I guess.
Well, it's an addictive drug. Of course, they're going to, if they're sitting idle, they're going to go to the drug of choice. There's no question about that.
Yes, and I guess mentally that's what it does as well. But but the same thing, you know, I started thinking the same thing, and I saw British American Tobacco, you know, moving down in price. And I just thought maybe because we are in a different era now, and people, not so many people are smoking, maybe that's, you know, maybe it won't be the same. But tobacco companies again are doing pretty well. And then I read the other day that they are looking for a virus cure from the tobacco plants. British American Tobacco specifically are looking for that. And I thought, you know what, if they were to, if they nail that, you know, after kind of producing something which is killing most of the planet, now they're going to be producing something which is saving it. But if they were to produce that, and that was released on the market, their stock would absolutely fly. It would be the story of the century. So yeah, I was just looking at some of those stocks, the tobacco stocks, but you know, they're doing pretty well. Not really a cross-section story when it comes down to most other stocks, which is making this a little bit of a difficult read. We're not really seeing, you know, you were asking yesterday what might be some of the sectors that would start to show green shoots first, and I did say banking, and I'm just looking at some of the banking stocks, and actually they're doing okay. except for HSBC, which maybe has got a side story, and that's possibly why that one isn't doing particularly well at this particular stage. But yeah, we're around about 50-50 anyway, mate. There's a bit of a battle going on with the Bulls and the Bears right now about which direction this market should go in. I'm still fundamentally a bear at this particular time, but we can still look at things like the Aussie. Now, you've put your order in on the Aussie. I was just missing it while I was looking through. I'm presuming you're trying to get through this monthly pivot anyway.
Well, we are through it and we've retested it, and that's primarily the trade, basically.
Yeah. And the pound. So looking around, pound's pretty flat. It hasn't really performed, and I have to say I don't know why the pound would perform or not perform right now. It seems to be a bit of a muted story. Let's have a quick look at some numbers today as well.
Pound. What the heck's happened here? It's gone from my chart.
You've lost the pound.
It's gone. GONE, gone. Unless I'm blind. It's gone. That's interesting. Okay, let's bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. It's not going anywhere anyway, mate.
Gone off my
Unemployment.
chart, mate. Must be a signal.
Hold on a minute.
Can't be audible there, so okay, all good.
Unemployment claims 3,600. Is that a joke?
Yeah, no, not at all. But I'll tell you what is a joke, and I'll get there in a tick. The unemployment numbers coming from, where was it? From somewhere in Europe. Where was it? That was yesterday. Or was it the day before? Unemployment rate in Europe has fallen. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so this one here, Spanish unemployment change. That has fallen. What's going on here?
Yeah, I reckon they missed a one out.
Okay.
How is that even? It's not even feasible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge number. Unemployment change is up by. Oh no, that looks right, doesn't it? Yeah. So the unemployment change in Spain up to 302,000. Maybe there was a reading from yesterday, but do you know what? It amazes me how the market remains buoyant sometimes. You know, it's such a strange thing. And as I was saying to you off air, I'm hearing some of these commentators saying that we may well be looking around here for a bottom in the market. I mean, you know, are we really sort of in that particular phase where, you know, when we start to tank to the downside, it takes a month and all of a sudden we're back in positive territory? It's just some of these people that are invited on some of these shows just. They obviously are on there for their own benefit. It's probably not very good for them for the market to be down here, so they promote buying. But
I can tell you a story, and I won't mention any names or the company involved, but it was and still is to this day, to my knowledge. But I'm going back some years, probably 10 years ago, and they put out a call. I don't know how wide they put out the call for, but they were looking for somebody to give them stock tips once a week. So again, I won't mention the company, but they were just looking for not even an expert, not even a qualified person. They just wanted somebody to give them stock tips. They were paying $1,000 a week for this. Right. So I knew the person who actually got the job. And I said to him, but you're a currency trader. You don't really know that much about stocks. He said, it doesn't matter. They just want a tip. I said, well, how's it going? He said, well, it doesn't win very often, but I still get paid. So I said, come on. He said, no, this is true. So that's exactly, I just plucked him off the street, basically.
Do you know, and that's the sad thing about this industry, isn't it? It's just, it really is full of people that just are selling. It's a bit this is where the Wolf of Wall Street comes into play. And you know, somebody said to me quite recently, is a a friend of mine is taking tips from a guy about trading, and they've been
Mhm.
doing really, really well for a long time, and then all of a sudden they haven't been doing so well. And when well, I was asking him about what's happened, he said, well, he's just he's doing a load of coke, and he's taking a load of drugs, and he said, but that's
Yep.
the industry, that's the trading industry. It's full of drugs, and I was like, it's not. It's not full of drugs because nobody in our company does anything like that because we're sort of we're actually working. You think Warren Buffett sits there with a line of cloak in the morning when he sort of starts? And it's just not
Always.
true.
It's
It's full of
breakfast.
it's got a lot of people that do that, of course, and those people are the ones that you really don't want to be involved with. But if trading is a job and you kind of treat it with respect, then why would you do stuff like that? It's not this kind of rock and roll lifestyle. It's the same with the music industry. Actually, people think that the music industry is full of that stuff as well, but it's because sensationalizing certain lives that get in deep with drink and drink drugs and everything else makes for a good read. But actually, the music industry does have a lot of people that are pretty clean living. Taylor Swift is probably a really good example, but pretty clean living and just want to do the job well.
That's the majority of people, yes. Obviously, there are little black sheep along the way, but I think this industry is the one that we're talking about, of course, and we started with this financial industry. I think it's getting better. I definitely
Yeah.
think it's getting better. They've sort of straightened out the US to a large degree. They've certainly got rid of a few in this country, a few charlatans, I'll put it that way. But they're still around. I've got no doubt they're still around. They just go from, I guess, fictitious named companies to one to the other. But
Yeah.
I actually think it's getting better.
Yeah, I do. I do. We just who was it just said? Starmax. Sorry. Yes. Starmax. You're just saying about the speculation of closing the stock market for 2 weeks. Could you let us know where you heard that? I haven't heard that, and I don't know why I haven't heard about that. But yeah, could you let us know about where you got that story, just so I can read up on it?
Just so you know,
Uh,
guys, we have been triggered along the Aussie. I will take first profit at 61.23, which is that line there. If we're fortunate enough to get there,
awesome, mate.
but it's got to get through
Awesome.
this level, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Aussie long. I think we probably are waiting for those, speculating on some of those US numbers today, and maybe that's why the market is quite happy to move, fairly positively right now. But we can't make a mistake about this. The picture that we've got right now is still for shorting the market. And I was really thinking back on that Chinese data and wondering about where that may lead us. But as I say, when it comes down to it, supply is only half the story, and the demand in America for specific goods and materials just isn't there. So even that alone, does that feed into stronger? This was going to be my thing actually, mate. When we've been looking at China and we've been looking at the fact that China's numbers were better than expected, and that would help out the Australian dollar. But if
Mm-hmm.
America stops certain construction, does that affect the Aussie dollar? As well. If we're, is it pretty much 100% China story when we look at the Aussie, or do we need to be aware of what's going on in America and also kind of
Oh,
get a
of course,
feel of?
of course
So
we do. But getting a read on America, getting a read on the greenback is really difficult, I think.
yeah,
We've had, a massive strengthening of that currency. And for I can't even put a time on it. I don't think I've got a dollar index available to me at the moment. I haven't got the chart, but it came back, probably, I don't know, 40, 50%. And I think it's still at that level, if I'm not mistaken. Today could be the day that we see that change, whether that's a rebound back to the highs or whether it's actually a continuation of the retracement or indeed a reversal is the question mark for me. And I've got absolutely no idea. I really have no idea what happens next. This liquidity thing from yesterday with the Reserve Bank, the Fed, has got me completely bamboozled. I don't know how that works, but
yeah. I was just reading
as
yesterday
I said
about
at the time, I'm neither a fundamentalist or an economist, so I've got absolutely no idea, mate.
Yeah, there was some cities in America have closed down some of the construction sites. Boston, I read, became the first US city that was closing construction sites, and there was just quite a few that seemed to be kind of moving around, and it looked like there would be quite a few closures of some of these sites. And after reading that, I did think about our conversation about Australia and started thinking, well, obviously some of these construction sites are commodity. They are commodity dependent. So does that does that lead us back to the Aussie, or actually does it lead us to Canada? But for the same reason, because it's its neighbour, it's the US neighbour.
First stop, yeah. I guess therefore that's the first custom base, but. Yeah, look, it's always been the case that China drives the Aussie, so I wouldn't be that concerned by that particular circumstance. But the greenback worries me; it really does.
Yeah,
I haven't got a read on it, so I really can't say. Just get ready to take some profit there, guys. If you're in the Aussie long,
well done, mate.
We're getting near to that. Hopefully, we get there. And of course, what I'd like to see is we get back up to here. That would be cool. But we've got to get that first profit in the bank first. And if we do, then what I will do is I'll make this trade safe as soon as possible, because I don't trust the dollar. That's my issue. Of course, we've got to get through this little hump here before we do. And the take profit level for those of you who have just joined is 61.23. That's where I'll be taking my first profit. And I'll be removing half of the position and moving my stops to what will be the profit level. Be 10 pips. So I'll go 10 pips below the entry. That's where I'll move my stop loss, and I'll take half off the table. If we're fortunate enough to get there, that is. Sorry, mate.
That's okay. That's okay. We're struggling actually to go anywhere. It really is a very, very flat session so far on the FTSE. I will show you my chart. I haven't really seen my chart yet this morning.
No, we
haven't.
Show you it. It's unusual for us.
Yeah. We
normally
do have a bit of focus on it. If I could grab the screen for a bit.
Well, it's because I don't trade the first candle of London session, which is it's kind of broken my rule there a little bit, but I only went in very light, so.
Yeah, nothing really nothing to do, nothing to see here. I'm obviously a FTSE bear. I don't like the fact that it's above this daily pivot. I'd much prefer to see it up there if I'm going to be adding to any positions. I'm holding on to my short positions right now in the FTSE, and actually not a bad price to start scaling in if you guys are thinking of going short on the FTSE as well. So this is a decent price to start scaling in gently, and then also looking up here and possibly even the monthly pivot if it gives us some kind of false break at that point. So there's a 250 pip range to scale in at, and if you are going to be scaling in at I don't know 0.5% or something, then make sure that you work out 250. Your 0.5% divided by 250 divided by your the amounts that you're going to be scaling in, how many trades you're going to be putting on at that particular point. So there is that opportunity, but it's a tricky one to read. As I say, this is what we've had. This is the opening half an hour of the FTSE, this bar and this bar. So we start here at 54.74. We are currently at 54.65. So we've moved 10 pips, which is in this particular environment extremely, extremely unusual to do. For us to move so little. So I don't think I had put some positions in play to protect for some upside, but I've just taken them off the table because I just don't see why how this market is going to start moving to the upside off the back of now not having the surge that we tend to see in the first half an hour of trade. Now that's kind of passed. I'm just not seeing the follow through. So not really interested in upside at this stage. You know, things could change later down the line, but right now I'm kind of okay with it. It's just doing its thing, because I don't see what is going to drive it. We've seen Royal Dutch Shell and BP, the two big oil players in the FTSE 100, both up north of 6%. And that would suggest that that WTI story, or the oil story, is positive enough for some of those oil, or those oil names. Now, those particular stocks seem to be the outperformers in the FTSE, and I wonder whether that is why we are seeing any kind of upside whatsoever. There are some other stocks in positive territory, but all of them, you know, just around about the kind of 4% mark and less. When we jump down the first 10 stocks, there's around about 5 or 6 stocks that are between 2 and 4% higher. Everything else is kind of meandering around the 1% mark, maybe even into slight negativity, some of them as well. So we really are in 50-50 phase here, and it just suggests that we don't have enough information to be doing much of anything, mate. So really, when it comes down to it, these are the kind of days that you just hold on to your longer term views and your longer term positions, and don't worry too much about scalping in the opposite direction, which is what I started to do with that FTSE trade. But I've just taken it off, so I'm going to leave things as they are and continue to trust that the downside will be seen at some point fairly soon.
Okie dokie. I haven't been watching the questions. Did Orlando make his comment on oil?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. There is a little trend line that we probably need to break down on the FTSE for us to be a little bit more confident that the downside will probably continue. Again, we might be waiting for those US numbers. Orlando. Let's have a look. Yes, what he said was, the thing is that at current levels, the US shale industry is unsustainable, and the US storage has been maybe filling up. I'm expecting this.
Which is why Donald wants a meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that gives that some reason behind it, doesn't it? I'm expecting this that this forces a decline in US output because of the mega low prices per barrel. Producers will be forced. Yeah, okay. So to lower costs by reducing services. So he's talking about a lower output, and that could be part of the can't think of the word. Consequence, rally? I guess. Part of the consequence of the storage of oil is that they will be reducing output. So I guess it's that. But my real question is, what is the catalyst that leads us to there? You know, and is it that Donald Trump brokers a deal? Because the catalyst can't be that Donald Trump wants a meeting. Surely not.
Don't know. Why not? It kind of makes sense, but I don't know he's strong enough to do that. That's what I said before. Are they really going to listen to?
Well, that's the thing, mate. But would you, if you were a fund manager, or a pension company, just because Donald Trump said that he wants a meeting, would you then go, okay, well, we're all good, let's go all out oil?
No.
I just don't think that would be enough of a catalyst to get the oil market moving. Surely it's got to be something more significant than that. Anyway, what else we got? You certainly don't want to be listening to any financial news media throws at you. No, you're right, Dan. It is confusing just to get through that stuff. So, right, yeah, so StarMax, I was asking about... now, he said that the UK speculation of closing the stock market for 2 weeks. Will the Forex market also be affected? Well, it will be affected, but they wouldn't be able to close the Forex market because money has to travel around. Closing the stock market is a little bit easier to control. Right, Helen, yesterday's Chinese numbers. What's troubling about relying on Chinese news and numbers regarding current progress and recovery is the credibility gap. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it, actually? Have you heard about that, Jeff?
No, mate, no.
Donald took off his boxing gloves and started to talk about. In fact, I don't know if it was just Donald. It was the White House talking about the reliance of the Chinese numbers. And I do every time I hear a flare up between America and China, it brings me back to the trade war. And you remember how disruptive that was for the market. There is real tension between America and China. It kind of
Yep.
goes, it seems to come and go. But Donald Trump already called it a Chinese. Was it a Chinese virus? He called it or something.
Yeah, with the Wuhan virus.
The Wuhan, yeah, but he called it,
and then the Chinese virus. Yes, that's right.
He called it a Chinese
But
virus. So
I do. Sorry, I did hear him say today, because as soon as I see him on the screen, I just turn volume up straight away.
Yeah.
And I did hear him say, what he said. I can't remember the exact words, but he added, and I say that kindly, and it was disparaging to the Chinese figures that were coming out on coronavirus. So I get that bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The credibility gap, as Helen calls it. Yes.
Yes. Much higher in China than it. I mean, there's no doubt that China have been guilty of that in the past. There has been a cover up of numbers, I think, before, and I think there's always a little bit of a suspicion about even some of the manufacturing numbers that China provide. So I can understand that there would be some suspicion and maybe a little bit, a lack of trust with China. I think my issue is that the lack of diplomacy that the President of America shows to do with this stuff. It's one of those things that everybody knows it. You really need to spell it out. So everybody suspects that there might be some skewing of certain parts of reporting, but I don't know whether it really helps anything to kind of tell the whole world, even if you are telling your counterpart. He can go to the Chinese and say it, and tell his counterpart and call him out on it. But does he have to do it so regularly and in such a crude way? I don't know. I don't know whether it helps things. That's my
his
issue
brand, mate. I'm afraid
yeah.
He does. It's just the way he is.
Yeah. Anyway, mate, he's a beast. Do we need to go around the grounds? We've got 30-minute candles.
Yeah, look, we will. Absolutely. We'll do that. Aussie's come off a bit. That's not in a winning position at the moment. We'll see how that goes. But let's go around the grounds and see if there's anything else to take our interest. And there is. I've got lots of things that are interesting, whether they're on this. I'm going to share a couple of things that I have traded in the last week or so that don't appear in this show. And the reason they don't is because I'm only trading the majors here. I've added a couple here just to give you an example. But as of next Monday, you'll be seeing all of these things, all of these that I trade. So Monday, we're starting the US session, guys. So we'll do exactly the same thing here, but we'll be changing a little bit of the format for the US session, which starts at 9 o'clock Singapore and Hong Kong and goes till, well, we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens, because there's generally news around US Open, and we want to catch that and try to trade the result of it, if at all possible. So that is as of next Monday. I think you'll be notified of that throughout the weekend. I think. Could be wrong, but we did agree to terms last night, so everything should be a-okay. All right, what do we got? We've got Euro US dollar. Yeah, look, one thing stopping me going short here, and really only one thing. Well, sorry, two things. I don't trade into the low of the day, which we've got here. That's the low of the day. And we do not trade away from the daily pivot, especially when it's got the weekly pivot hugging it as well, on a 30-minute chart, that is. So I'm not going to trade this short, despite the fact that I've got something that suits me, and that is a break and retest of this little bitty support trade line. So I'm not going there. If it were in a different position, then I'd be happy to do so, but it's not in a different position. So the answer is no. My analysis takes me to the middle of nowhere, because we've come off the top here, perhaps, of the descending channel, but we haven't really, or have we, put in a lower high, which is what I'll be looking for to trade this short. I don't see that on the daily charts. I don't really see, perhaps I do see it on the weekly chart. Sorry, the 4-hour chart. Maybe that's it there, in which case I've missed it. Interesting that it has broken through here and retested that confluence area. So that is interesting. Maybe there is an entry there, but I'm trading straight into a support level. No, I'm not going to fall into that one. So answer's no on that. So I'm just going to leave that alone. If we were to get back above here, I'd like to see the monthly pivot tested, then this level broken, and find our way back underneath it and retest the monthly pivot and confluence area with this resistance area. So that's my preference for today. Get it up to here, find resistance, get back underneath, and then go short. On euro dollar, dollar yen. Dollar yen's a little bit interesting, almost something that I'd like to trade here. Almost, it's not quite there. This is an hourly chart. I've only got a tiny little bar here that's suggesting to me that there's some potential upside here coming off this base, if you like. Like the fact that we've taken out the lows, that should provide a little bit of liquidity for the market. And now we've put in a potential higher low. That's the sort of thing I like to see. Why don't I want to trade this? Untested monthly pivot below, maybe. Again, I'm not a fan of the dollar at the moment. And I said that yesterday, which is why I'm probably very, very sheepish on these majors, because I just don't trust the dollar. I think it could go anywhere at any time. And for that reason, I think I've just taken a trade against the dollar with the Aussie. So I don't really want to be exposing myself to the US dollar. I'd much rather trade the miners at the moment and the other crosses. So although I can see the potential here for a long, I'm not going to take it. The Aussie struggling here. It is struggling, no doubt about that. We would definitely like to see this reverse anytime soon. My analysis is that it's very, very difficult on the daily chart to find a reason to go long, because we haven't tested the weekly pivot, which is what I was looking for, and why I really haven't gone into this at full tilt. It's only a very, very small risk trade that I'm taking here. But that said, pardon me, when I get a setup that I do like to trade it, and we have come off the bottom here. It's not a, sorry, when I say bottom, higher low here, we have come off a higher low here, despite the fact that we haven't tested the weekly pivot, which was definitely my preference. And when I see something that I like, which is what I call a double cross, I'll share that with you. Double cross for me is when we cross the pivot, and in this case pivots with a decisive buying bar and come back with a decisive selling bar. I always like to see the next move up, or vice versa if we're going the other way, and we get a double cross of a pivot up here. So one down, one back. I always like to trade the direction of the first candle, which in this case, of course, was long. That's yet to unfold, of course, and hopefully that will do the case. As I've told you where my first take profit is. If it gets there, I'll take 50% off and move my stops 10 pips from entry, and then let the rest rip. And if we do get a decent profit out of this, it'll come in this vicinity here. Dollar CAD. Oh, I like that. What's that? 4-hour chart on dollar CAD. This is telling me there's a strong chance we're going to test the monthly pivot here. Come off the top, we've got a lower high. We've come underneath the pivots on a smaller time frame. I'm sure there'll be a retest of those. There it is there. Probably like to see another one of the weekly pivot, that would be okay. But if I see this candle as is on what time have we got? In an hour and 15 minutes, I will place a short underneath that bar. It's at a dangerous place, because we'd be trading straight into daily support number one. But I do see the opportunity here to go from here to here, or even here somewhere. So there's about 340, 350 pips available to us for a risk of about 100 pips. So this depends on how long it takes to get here. Of course, I could say we've got 6 to 1, but in reality, I would have thought, somewhere in this vicinity, about 3.5 to 1, I think is available on this trade if we can get into it. We'd have to take profit here at the monthly pivot, of course, and that would be the one caveat around that. So what do I need to see? I need to see probably no more of a decisive bar than we've got now. So 50% into this bar with a body keeps me in the trade here. If it goes any further, I don't want to be a part of it. So 50% is the key level here for me. Body 50%, tail 50%. That's what I want to see. For dollar CAD short, dollar Swissy. Now, how long have we been calling for that higher low here? For quite some time, and we got it like 3 days ago, but untradeable. I'd like to see another one. So I'd like to see price get back to the monthly pivot and this confluence area before I go long. It's the only way I want to go at the moment. Kiwi US dollar, exactly the same as the Aussie. As you can see, it's double crossed the monthly pivot. This one went exactly the same way. So we've broken again and put in a new high, but we've come back again to the monthly pivot. I'm hopeful, of course, this will do exactly the same as the Aussie and get us to at least the next resistance level, which is in this case around about what, 59.80ish, something like that for the Kiwi. I've got gold and oil there, but I want to have a look at CAD Swiss and pound CAD. Couple of things I do like about these, but there's a whole lot I don't like as well. I've already got an order long in the market here, and I'm actually trading this inside bar. Why? Great question, because if you look at this, it's just a total mess, and I don't normally mess with this. But there's something here that I like. I do like the fact that potentially we've got a right shoulder of a head and shoulders here. That's one part. It's not the whole part, though. I do like the inside bar after we've had a decisive buying bar coming off that shoulder. So that's the reason I've actually taken this. Again, not looking fantastic. We are slightly in profit, and I've got to take profit level here somewhere, I think. So we've got a little bit of work to do before we take profit on this. But that is very much something that I like to see. And I hate the consolidation that we're in, because it's horribly messy, but I do see the signal that I like to see, and we'll see how that one goes. Of course, we've had a conversation about oil, and CAD Swissy relies heavily on what oil price does. So despite the fact that I'm also an oil bear, I think there may be a little bit of upside in oil today, and I think we've seen that. We've seen that a little bit. I don't know where that'll go. There's oil there now. Yeah, look, it has broken the weekly pivot on this chart. Different broker. On another broker, it may not have. So that's reasonably.
I will tell you mine.
Sorry,
mine
mate.
I will tell you whether it's broken it on my chart, if you like. It hasn't broken it on mine, but mine actually sits at 22.60. My weekly pivot.
I don't know. This is Fusion Markets, and they seem to be, somewhere between 75 cents and $1 in advance of every other broker, which is interesting. I've got no idea why. But yeah, going by that chart, which is all I can go by when I'm.
That's not oil, mate.
XTI.
You need WTI.
West Texas Intermediate versus US
Yeah.
dollar.
Yes.
What is it? Futures or something?
I don't know what X is. What would the X stand for?
I don't know. Well, Texas, I suppose. But look at the label. Look at the label.
XTI. XTI. Have you not got a WTI?
No.
Oh,
But
okay.
can you see the label? Look
I
down the bottom
can.
of my chart.
Oh, okay. Hold on. XTI. I will look at what that might be. Maybe it is. No, it's not futures. Actually, WTI futures. Maybe that's the actual cash.
Don't know, mate. Don't know.
I've got WTI futures XTI. I can't find it. Oh, it's an aircraft company, according to Bloomberg.
I think they make drills or something as well, don't they? And sell them in.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah,
the
US
majors.
oil XT. Oh, it's US oil. No, that's okay.
It says it's West Texas Intermediate. So,
yeah, I think maybe it is. Maybe that's the cat. Yeah, I think you're right, mate. Yeah, XTI, WTI. You're right. XTI must be the cash because I don't see FS after that. I've got WTI FS. So I've got the futures rather than the cash.
Yeah.
So that's probably why. Well, that is why the pivots are in different areas, which still makes it a tricky one actually to trust, doesn't it?
It does, but as I said, that's what I saw this morning, and I also saw this little setup, which is crazy trading in this conglomeration of consolidation. I'll call it that. But I'm actually liking this particular scenario, and it's exactly the same on pound CAD standing on your head. If you have a look at the daily chart there, it's very much exactly the same, where we've had potential right shoulder. It's very, very weird, the shape of it, but we've had a very bearish decisive bar closing on or around about its low, and then a little bit of an inside bar. It's the inside bar that interests me, because what I believe is happening here is we've got a rejection of that level, which is 177.90, let's call it. We've had a massive rejection of it once, twice, and 2.16, I'll call it. It could be 2.05, I don't know. But I think this is potentially the third rejection of that level, which is potentially down here somewhere. So if this is following a pattern, we've got 850 pips there. We've got 1,500 pips there. And if we can get 1,900 pips there, I'd be a happy chappy. That'll do me. So yeah. I see that as a little bit of a wind-up scenario, coiling of a spring. The issue that I have with this, and the only issue I have with this, is the monthly pivot sitting like here somewhere. So I think I'm going to wait for a bounce off the monthly pivot and a lower high before I trade pound CAD. But it's exactly the same as CAD Swiss going the other way. And as I said, it relies heavily on what oil is about to do. It's pretty much as simple as that. And
it's dragging the FTSE up. The oil is certainly dragging the FTSE high. The fact that we've got Shell and BP both printing fairly decent numbers now is keeping the FTSE buoyant. But we haven't moved. When we looked
the market's stagnant.
Yeah, completely stationary today, which I think John was mentioning, just protecting your capital, and it certainly is a day of that today. I think if you've got a long-term view and you're taking longer-term trades on the market, fine. That's really, I think, a better way to play it right now. But trying to actually get anything out of today, what we're seeing so far anyway on the FTSE looks like it's going to be pretty tricky.
Yep, agreed. And, oftentimes Thursday morning is like that, but it springs to life when the US session kicks in. And that's one of the reasons that we want to cover the US session. And we will be doing that as of Monday. Mate, details on that. I'm hoping that that James can get all that out before Monday. I'm sure he's a very busy boy, our James.
Yeah,
But
God, right now, yeah, really
he'll
busy
be
at the minute.
trying very hard to do that. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in Actions to Wealth, and we're only a part of that, of course. So if you don't get those details, guys, we will be on air in the US session on Monday at 9 p.m. Singapore and Hong Kong. Now, you will need a link for that. You will need a link, and the first week will be free of charge. No questions there. We will hopefully get that link into, I think it's a Telegram group. Am I right there, Ash?
I probably, mate. Yeah, probably. Difficult. Difficult to know.
But we'll
yeah,
let you know on
difficult to say.
Monday afternoon anyway.
Yes, well, we will do that. And the thing is, because we are effectively moving online at this stage, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because you know the kind of business is having to change to change with the time. So we're moving more online, which just increases James' workload untold amounts. So that's why I think he probably hasn't got exactly what we need just yet. And there was also, wasn't there something I was meant to be checking? What was the thing I was meant to be checking? What was that?
But I can check it
okay.
because I've now got the link, and it was what was written underneath the live stream, and there's absolutely jack underneath the live stream that I can see.
Yeah.
Can you see anything?
I can't either. It just says learn to trade live and free. I can't see anything else.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there. Dirty little sods they are. They just they edit you, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do. So we I might just show you guys just one more time the FTSE 100, just because it is quite it is showing some certainly some upside, but I think the fact that we're so flat here is just a bit concerning.
Yeah, so Aussie's up and down like father's pants, and and pounds going nowhere.
Let's just if you could just throw me the screen for a moment.
I'm sorry, mate. Yep.
No problem.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we love to give trades out every day, but I have to say the way things are, it's very, very difficult. This is the situation with the FTSE on an hourly chart right now. Are you guys getting that? Yeah, this is the situation with the FTSE 100 on the hourly chart, and it is right on a level of resistance. But this hourly bar does look a little bit. This is a spinning top, and a spinning top is indicative of indecision. So the lack of decision making going on here on the hourly is just leading me to not really want to do anything at this particular stage. Even if you wanted to sell this, it wouldn't be a good sell with the signals that are going on right now, because even though you're at a level of resistance, look at the 15. And the 15 is really attempting to get higher. It came down, didn't quite test the daily pivot, didn't quite test the trend line. So that's still in question whether that might happen. But the 15-minute bars are just showing that as the price is getting pushed down, this 15-minute bar showed that that people were still willing to buy here. So the bulls are just about keeping this market buoyant. They're not really in control. But if you had to pick one of them to be in control, then you'd say that the market is slightly more bullish than it is bearish. Now, this 15-minute bar hasn't finished yet, and it will do in the next 30 seconds. So as that does finish, maybe we end up seeing a market that does still want to come and touch this area up here. Fundamentally, this market is a short, and I'm still a bear, and I will continue to sell at higher prices. But right now, difficult to advocate shorting at this particular point. If anything, if you're not in already, if you're in already and you've managed your money, that's absolutely fine, and I would leave things as they are. But if you're not in already and you're just waiting for a signal, you do need to see this 15-minute bar, 15-minute chart turn around, and make sure that it doesn't get through this resistance point, come through here, maybe then give us a little retest of something, maybe even the daily pivot, possibly the trend line, and then that would be a better short when this short-term time frame is genuinely moving lower. But I think because of my fundamental view of downside, I'm not really even willing to trade this in the opposite direction just to grab some pips. I'm just going to leave things as they are and wait on this, even though the signals certainly for the short term are for further moves higher. So we're in no man's land. This was our opening price, and this is our current price. Market has literally not moved for the first hour, gone nowhere, which is what makes the spinning top. You can look at this on a 15-minute chart, 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, and that's what's going to make the spinning top, or the doji. Effectively, price starts where it ends. It ends where it starts. Then you get a doji bar, and to a degree, that is almost what we have on this hourly as well. So complete lack of decision making on the FTSE 100. The oil companies still prepared to buy in at this stage. They're certainly holding on to their gains. But looking down the list, there are some other companies that are doing okay, but nothing is really doing that well. I'm seeing, which we didn't touch on today, mate, was gold, and gold continues to be buoyant as well at these parts. I know we are on that weekly pivot, but let's get rid of the pivots for right now, because that might cage us in for the week. But if you look at gold on a longer term time frame, on a clean chart, it's looking to me like it's managing to remain fairly, it's fairly well bid up here, and it's got a decent chance maybe next week of getting back up to these highs and possibly even beyond from there. So still like the gold story for some upside as well.
Is that kind of in the same boat, however, as let's say we were talking earlier about oil and potential reversals on the S&P, or anything that anyone's talking about bottoming out? Is it in the same category, or is it a beast of its own? I think it's more a beast of its own, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right, mate, because there are other factors that certainly come into play with gold. I think the inflation stories are a really interesting one. I'm actually hearing conflicting reports on the inflation story. So I think the inflation stories are an important one with gold, but also the fact that it is used for protection as well. And there's also there's a lack of supply with gold too. So there are other factors, I think, at play when it comes down to gold that probably have to be taken into account. But certainly, technically speaking, it's holding up, not in the best area. But this is an inverted head and shoulders, and whether we need to give it a name or not, this is a point that it wasn't able to break through. Certainly a high that it wasn't able to break through, but it is showing accumulation at this particular point. So it is suggesting that we go higher from this point and at least test this upper level. So I like gold. I like the gold story. I think further upside in gold is more than achievable.
Cool. Okay. Well, we haven't been triggered on the pound. The Aussie is struggling. It's in drawdown, about 50% off, and on it's just hanging on the daily pivot there at the moment. We can see if we can get a bounce off there. That'll be okay. But it is struggling for whatever reason. As I said, the US dollar is very, very difficult to trust at present. So I'll leave it there. Don't really have much to add, except Monday will be a whole new ball game for us, mate.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll be back, as Jeff says, same trade time, same trade channel on Monday. We'll do it all again, and we'll run into the US session as well. Stay safe today, guys. It looks to me like well worth keeping your hands in your pocket for a day like today. Never bad practice. It looks like a pretty unreasonable market and fairly difficult to read. So if you've got longer term positions, no problem. If you're trying to take some short positions on this market, I think you might well get cut up today. So maybe just turn your stuff off and go do something else. Even if you've lost money today, well worth turning stuff off, because today's probably not the time to recover. There'll be much easier and clearer days in the market than this, and this is a muddy day from what I can see. Certainly until we get that jobless data from the US, I think maybe that might change things around. So you could look again in the US session in a few hours' time, but London session looks to be done as far as I'm concerned.
Right, mate. Happy days. Oh, hopefully happy days for all of you guys in the room. G'day, Rick. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Good to see you here. And everyone else who's joined us for the week. Thank you so much for your company. It has been an interesting week, but we're in the middle of interesting times. There's no doubt about that. And I haven't taken a whole lot of trades in this show, but that doesn't surprise me at all. A fair bit out of it on the bigger time frames. As Ash has suggested, I'm holding a few positions on the bigger time frames. We'll be showing you all of those in the US session when we start it next Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. And we'll be back when, Ash?
Same time, same channel next Monday at 5 to 8.
That's a date. Don't be late. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye for now.